everyone, welcome to SK's e-Shikshalaya, and today we are going to continue with the same topic, that's the French Revolution, part 4 for class 9. So let's see what all we need to do today. First, revolutionary wars and its consequences. Second, the political clubs, the new National Assembly, the Reign of Terror from 1793 to 1794, Robespierre's rule, and the fall of the Jacobin government. So let's start with the Revolutionary Wars. Now, Louis XVI was forced to sign the Constitution of 1791. So, National Assembly completed the drafting of the Constitution in 1791. So, King Louis XVI was forced to sign the Constitution of 1791. National Assembly tried to limit the powers of the king, but still, unrest in France remained unabated. And king was afraid because the new constitution would take away all his powers. So Louis XVI began to negotiate secretly with the neighboring king of Prussia, seeking to strengthen his authority and to rescue him if required. So let's look at where Prussia was located. And this is the map of Europe. And Prussia was a former kingdom in North Europe that includes the parts of the present day northern Germany and northern Poland. So this was the area where Prussia was located. A number of French nobles and bourgeoisie they fled to other countries so that they can form the counter-revolutionary groups and got support from some of the rulers of Europe. The National Assembly. Now they declared war against Prussia and against Austria. Rulers of adjoining countries they were worried about the principles of the revolution promoted by the National Assembly. So the rulers of these adjoining countries they supported the king. How? By sending troops to suppress the revolt, and this revolt or this revolution was seen as the war of people against the despotic monarchy all over Europe. The revolution awakened the French nationalism that inspired a large number of volunteers to join the army. And the patriotic song which they sang was Marseillaise, and it was composed by Roger de Isle. So it was for the first time sung by the volunteers for Marseille as they marched into Paris, so got its name. And in the present time, Marseille is now the national anthem of France. So now let's look at the consequences of the revolutionary wars. So these revolutionary wars caused losses and economic difficulties. Now women had to earn their living so that they can look after their families as men had gone to war. Only the middle classes and the richer section of the French society they got some political rights. But what about the passive citizens? They were the ones who were forming the major portions of society, but they were convinced that revolution should not stop, it should continue. So people began to assemble at the political clubs where they discussed government policies and planned their own forms of action. So the Club of Jacobins was the most popular of all the political clubs. So Jacobins was the name which was named after the former convent of Saint Jacob in Paris. What is a convent? It is a community which is devoted to religious life and they live together in a building. And women were very active and they also formed the clubs. Now let's look at the Jacobin Club. Who all were the members, who all were included, and most importantly, who was the leader of the Jacobin Club? Members, they mainly were from less prosperous sections of society like the shopkeepers, the artisans such as the shoemaker, the pastry cooks, the servants. They all were the members of the Jacobin Club. Now, who was the leader? It was Maximilien Robespierre, and he was the leader of the Jacobin Club. But some Jacobins decided to wear the long striped trousers, which were similar to those which were worn by the dock workers. So, why they decided to wear the long striped trousers? Because to look different from the affluent sections of society who wore the knee breeches and to declare the end of the power exercised by the wearers of the knee breeches, that is the nobility. So these Jacobins came to be known as sans-culottes, literally means those which were without the knee breeches, and sans-culottes men wore in addition the red cap that symbolized liberty, and women were not allowed to do so. Now, what happened in summer 1792? High food prices and short supplies it enraged people, and Jacobins planned revolt of the people. So on 10th August, Jacobins captured the palace of Toulouse and they massacred the king's guards. They held the king hostage, and not only this, the royal family was imprisoned by the National Assembly. After this, elections were held, and in that election, all men of 21 years and above got the right to vote with no consideration of status. New National Assembly. The new National Assembly was elected and was called as convention. So on 21st September 1792, monarchy in France was abolished and republic was declared. So on 21st September 1792, monarchy in France was abolished and republic was declared. So what is republic? Republic is a government which is elected by the people, including the head of the government who is not a monarch. So republic is where there is no hereditary monarchy. Louis XVI was sentenced to death by the court on the charge of treason, and so on 21st January 1793 he was executed publicly at Place de la Concorde. Along with him, Queen Marie Antoinette was also executed. Now, the reign of terror, it was between 1793 to 1794, and the leader of the Jacobin Club was Robespierre, and he followed a policy of severe control and punishment. So whether it was the clergy, nobles, ex-nobles, members of the other and his parties, whom he considered as the enemies of the republic, they were arrested and they were tried by the revolutionary tribunal. And if they were found guilty, they were guillotined. So, what is the meaning of the term guillotine? So, it's a wooden device which is having these two poles which are fixed with a blade which was used to behead a person. And as this was invented by Dr. Gulitin, so it was named after him. So let's look at the Robespierre's rule. He issued laws placing the maximum ceiling on the wages and prices, and meat and bread were rationed. So now the peasants, they have to transport their grains to the city so they can sell it at a fixed price by the government. Use of the white flour was forbidden, which was more expensive. So now let's see how equality was sought through different ways. The first way was that all citizens had to eat the pan de eaglite. What is this pan de eaglite? It was an equality bread or a cheap loaf made of the whole wheat. Now, equality was to be practiced through the forms of speech and address. Like for sir, it's monsieur, and now they are termed as citoyen. And for madam, we used to call madame, and now citoyen. So churches were shut down and they were converted into barracks or offices. So Robespierre ruthlessly followed his policies, and even his supporters, they demanded restraint from him. So finally in July 1794 he was convicted and beheaded the next day. So now the fall of the Jacobin government. Once Robespierre was beheaded, there was fall of the Jacobin government. But now who was having the powers? So the wealthier middle classes, they seized the power and they came up with a new constitution. So in that new constitution, the non-propertied sections of society denied voting, and two legislative councils were also elected, and these legislative councils, they appointed directory. Now what is a directory? An executive made up of 5 members. So 5 men directory was to stop the concentration of power in one man as happened under the Robespierre's rule. And often there was a clash between the directors and legislative councils, who then tried to dismiss them. And this caused the political instability of the directory, and it led to the rise of a military dictator, Napoleon Bonaparte. So to summarize, the changes which took place in the form of government, that was, first France was under monarchy, but now it was declared as republic. And then there were some new ideals like the freedom of equality before law, fraternity. It inspired the political movements in France and rest of Europe. And this is for your reference. So today we all have done the reasons for the revolutionary wars, the consequences, the fall of the Jacobin Club, the Robespierre's rule, then how France is now declared as a republic and the abolition of monarchy. And we are going to see the next topics in the next presentation. Thank you.